What I've kind of noticed is that you can take 200 selfies and then pick one, but ironically it's always within the first 5 that is the most raw and the most natural, and they're always the ones that get the most likes and the most response. Yeah, I think I posted like 4 selfies already today.
I think the selfie has been around for years, it's just nobody ever called it a selfie.
It's not niche, it's not something that only kids know about. Everyone's doing it, your mum knows what a selfie is, sort of thing.
If I wake up and then they think that I'm pretty, I took a selfie and say okay. Other times it's just to have a memory.
It's almost become acceptable to stand there in the middle of a busy street and take pictures of yourself. It's become part of society, really.
We're not particularly built to spend that much time thinking about the way we look. Our bodies are really designed to be doing things, and that system might overload a bit.
But I think what's going to happen is you're going to start seeing people that have got social problems.
There's more and more and more and more pressure being put on young people to look a certain way, to take the perfect Instagram photos.
Everyone likes to see themselves in a particular way, and I think the selfie has enhanced people's eyes on the way that they envisage themselves.
It reminds me another like a fairy tale, mirror, mirror, who is the fairest woman in the world. The social media itself is the magic mirror, tell you what others think of you.
There's some serious characters in Brixton. So I spent the last 15 years working as a photojournalist on lots of national and international press, covering everything from war zones to features in Guantanamo Bay and all kinds of weird and wonderful things. Hey, hang on, I'll take a picture of you guys. So the problem is, when you're taking pictures, doing street photography, everyone stops and poses. The key to it is taking a picture before they spot you. The point is, everybody likes having their picture taken. Everyone does, so it's no surprise that everyone's gone selfie crazy, is it really?
Why do you think that is?
Mostly smartphones, technology advancing, and the fact that when somebody takes a selfie, they can spend as long as they like making sure they look good, rather than have somebody holding a camera and taking a picture of them and kind of an embarrassing moment, you know. Sometimes, like, I'm not ashamed to say, you can get nicer pictures on your iPhone than you can on a camera in a single exposure. Basically, in the summer of 2014, I needed a new idea. I was launching a travel company, like a big PR idea. So I capitalised on the 2 massive trends of that year, which was the selfie and the Brazil World Cup, and managed to persuade the Archdiocese in Rio to let me climb the top, and managed to take a selfie which went insanely viral. Where are you from?
I'm Kurdish, North Iraq.
I've been to Iraq.
Yeah? Kurdish, nobody knows.
Yeah, everyone knows about Kurdish.
Even I don't know what is Kurdistan.
I was one of the first photographers to get to Colonel Gaddafi's body the day after he was killed. And I took a picture of Gaddafi like lying there with people sort of kicking him and everything. And I don't think anybody ever remembered that picture or remembered that picture by me. So it's typical that, you know, the biggest picture I ever take is actually of myself. Unfortunately, and I think a lot of my photography friends would kill me for saying this, but photography it's a dying trade. Smartphones are getting so advanced and everyone's becoming a photographer. You know, everybody's becoming good at taking pictures because they're getting so much practice, more than they've ever had before.
Choose the, you know, where the light's coming from, so over here. From quite an early age, like I guess my generation grew up as the internet grew up, and so I've always been quite like a internet person, I guess you could say. Yeah, in terms of fashion blogging, I guess I was always interested in what I wore. I would not want to say I was always interested in fashion because I was dressed terribly. I just started with posting photos of outfits online, and then I thought, why not write more? Why not make it more personal? that's when people start to care more, because when it's personal and people start to be interested in you as a person, no one else can recreate that really. If I'm not in a rush and like I think I look good that day, or I like my outfit or makeup or whatever, then I'll often just take a selfie, because why not? I don't know when I first heard the term selfie. I guess it definitely got, popularized by like Kim Kardashian. For someone who is so famous and not have, other media ruling how you portray yourself is revolutionary in a way. It's something that, like before, social media, etc., would just never have been able to happen. The thing about selfies is it's so in your own control. Like, selfie culture and blogging allows anyone to represent themselves. So everyone in magazines, everyone on the catwalk at Fashion Week is just slim and white, whereas you might look on Instagram and you can find so many different people, and kids who don't look like the fashion models will find people who they look like, race, size, shape, like any of it. I think the selfie movement is much more important for those people that aren't represented.
When I first started doing Instagram, I actually went through a breakup and loads of body issues, and I just felt really unconfident of that. So I started finding myself again through Instagram, and then it kind of became quite addictive. I have 45.1k at the moment today. Normally I would put my iPad here, I'll take my shirt off. I always lean forward a bit because it just makes my body look better. Nudity is one thing that's going to bring in a following on Instagram because it's so visually pleasing and it's like sex sells. Talk about just different things I'm doing in my life, and to the people who follow me, I think it becomes like a daily reality show that they have on their phone. And I feel like the reason that they don't get bored of it is because every new picture that you put up is a moment in your life that they're being let into. They feel connected to you in that exact second that you've uploaded it. Normally I have good days and bad selfie days as well, Actually today seems like a good day. I often think I have 45,000 people who have got my back. So if I'm having a really shitty day, or if I'm going through a really shit time, I will just spew it out to them. It's like in the palm of your hands, you have this constant support network. But then there is that other side of it where you kind of feel like you rely on that thing that is almost imaginary. Because you could spend all your time sitting in your house on your own, and you've got 45,000 imaginary friends. Recently, I've started to notice that you almost start to get a bit of a kind of identity crisis. If all of my friends don't think it's me on my Instagram, and if when I meet people in real life they're like, that doesn't feel like you, then maybe the person that is on my Instagram is not a real representation of me. It's this kind of, it's like a curation, like a gallery of pictures curated by you of how you want the world to see you. I don't think it's unhealthy for the people following. I think sometimes I think it might be unhealthy for me. That definitely has gone through my head before.
You do feel comfort when people are telling you you're good looking online, and I think sometimes you move out of your people to get that reassurance. I could start to develop an identity on social media that I didn't have here in a very sort of small town place. I was sort of a bit of a bookworm, not very popular, and I wanted to change that, and I needed to look good online to be able to do that. And the only way to look good was to start taking these selfies and to start actually trying to portray myself in the best possible way. So this is my room. It was there, it was there, it was there, and it was there. What validated is if I got good comments or bad comments. If I got bad comments, it made me feel awful and terrible, and I'd take the photo down. If I got good comments, then I'd start to feel really good and leave the photo up. So it was about seeking approval from others. People can literally click in 1 second and say the most horrible things, ugly, spotty, saying I was balding. There was a lot of comments about how I loved myself. I think I became quite obsessed with what people thought of me, and I actually got to a point where I felt I was too ugly to go out of the house. Literally just spending every day 10 hours in the mirror, taking 200 selfies a day, zooming in on teensy little megapixels, and if I felt like my skin was too dry, I then went to moisturize, or I'd go and put a full tube of acne cream on my face. And I was obsessed. I was obsessed with my image, and I was trying to see why, you know, when you look in the mirror, you can only look for a certain amount of time, while with a picture, you can actually see the progression. And I wanted to try and see a bit of change. And, you know, after 6 months of not leaving the house, and I remember just lying on my bed in exhaustion with this constant checking and this constant grooming and this constant selfie taking. And I decided to, and I'm not embarrassed to say this, I decided to take an overdose. I just felt so lonely. I think without the selfie culture or selfies in general, I don't think it would have got to that point. And then a paper approached me and said, you know, we want to do a story on it. I was portrayed in the Sunday Mirror as Britain's first selfie addict. I hadn't heard the idea of me being the first of anything, and then from there it just went global. I had Germany, Peru, Colombia. It just went pretty viral.
One of the problems is that any new technology that comes along, there's this kind of one story that everyone wants to tell, which is once upon a time we lived in kind of, you know, this intense community with kinship, the sort of thing anthropologists would study, and now, oh, it's all going into sort of fragmented individualism.
People ask me if they think that my selfie has inspired, you know, stupidity. People are trying more and more daring and quite honestly stupid things to get their 15 minutes of fame. You know, it's ridiculous.
Taking selfies is for the most part about self-love and self-confidence, and like for people to write that off as narcissism, I think is really kind of awful.
I've definitely thought about the word narcissism, and I've been called a narcissist many a time. But for me, I just think it's a new platform for you to share your art, and it's a new art form in itself. You look at Vincent van Gogh, you know, some of his most famous paintings are pictures of himself. Does that make him a narcissist? Like, that was a selfie.
It's a genuine transformation of human communication. There wasn't the ability to make visual images just a mundane part of conversation before social media.
I hope it comes to an end, and I do think it's a step in a dangerous direction.
Sometimes if I'm just standing here in front of my iPad taking a selfie, I'm just like, how can you actually take this seriously? Because it's ridiculous.